The greater part of the Arabian is of bleached landscapes with vast arid deserts. But within this region there lies a land of autumn colors seen by few Western eyes. This is the land of the Yemen. Arabia Felix. Arabia the fortunate, the fertile. Until only a few years ago, the Yemen Arab Republic was a secret place. It had been forbidden for the people to reveal themselves to strangers, and at the sight of a foreign face or a camera, many of them will turn their faces to hide. The land is majestic, overpowering and bewitching. The buildings are hewn from the stone in which they are set. It can be a harsh country. It can be cruel, but it is always fascinating. On a wide plain, situated 6,500 feet above sea level, is the capital city of Sana'a. To control the surrounding heights is to be master of all you survey. The city of Sana'a stands little changed from medieval times. It is believed to be the best preserved Islamic city in Arabia, and there is evidence that its origins date back to 6000 BC. To enter the gate of this ancient citadel, Bab al-Yemen, is to pass through the door of an earlier civilization. Here life bubbles as in a cauldron. Here a proud and colorful people throng together in riches and in poverty, in sickness and in health, in strange custom and in unyielding tradition. The market, or souk, is at the heart of Bab al-Yemen. Through these arteries pulses the lifeblood of day-to-day living. Within this labyrinth of narrow lanes, each trade occupies its own street. Each craft practice clusters together with its like for mutual support. Hundreds of small shops are set alongside each other within the walls like so many cupboards. Sana'a and the other towns throughout the Yemen are the marketplaces to which the tribal farmers bring their produce for sale. Goods are carried into the souk by vehicle, by cart, camel, donkey, man or woman. The madar pipe is an essential piece of equipment in every Yemeni home. Each component of these pipes will have been turned, hammered, carved or otherwise embellished within the narrow confines of the souk. No bargain is struck in a hurry, and the sands of time run slowly. Every man arms himself, if not with a gun, then with the jambia dagger. It has no practical use but one, and that use is to be avoided. The handle will be of bone or horn or even sometimes wood. This, together with the blade and the scabbard, will have been wrought by the craftsmen here in the souk. For a Yemeni it is no shame to demonstrate his excitement or his emotion. It is not at all unusual to see men treat or greet each other with great affection. Primitive farm implements forged in this fire will be used by farmers to till the soil in the high mountain ranges surrounding Sana'a. Within 100 other fires, the blacksmiths and tinsmiths forge the tools and chains which weld together past and present. This indeed is a man's world in which Helen Fanning finds herself. Helen is a nutrition expert working with other workers from her native country of Ireland. Her work in the Yemen is organized by an international development agency with appropriate name of Concern. So many of the people around her have yet to understand the connection between diet and dysentery, between health and hygiene. For many months now, Helen has been working on a project. She has been preparing a poster campaign which will convey the elementary rules of baby care. Helen's model is the mother of a large family. Of course, they all know that this is their mother, and father knows, but you and I and Helen will have to take it on trust. In accordance with strict Muslim tradition, a woman's face must remain hidden from all other men. This is the custom of Shashuf. A simple story may be told with simple pictures. How to bath a baby, how to feed a baby, how to keep a baby clean and healthy. In a country where the transition from childhood to adult is but a few brief years, where the minimum age for a girl to marry is 9, it is good that they too should understand this story. The posters will be seen and understood in clinics and health centers throughout the Yemen. One of Helen's fellow workers, nursing sister Margaret Moriarty, now explains the program to a group of student doctors.
جيدا في ماء ساخن قبل كل رضاعة وإذا أصبحت القارورة.
It is some reassurance to Helen to know that the Arabic captions of her posters are both legible and understood. The custom of Shashuf, or the veiling of all women, is a major factor in the lifestyle of these people. It is not possible for the Westerner to appreciate the very deep convictions which preserve such a tradition. Terry McHugh and Moira O'Sullivan are two others of Concern's development team, and they discuss this delicate subject with some of their students. Terry asks, do you like to wear shashuf?
We must learn and educate ourselves and our children. I think it's better without the shashuf. Shashuf is an expression of darkness.
Do you think that this will ever change?
Maybe one day we'll get rid of the shashuf, but we'll never wear trousers. Always we'll have the veil of Islam. The hair, my 2 hands, and the legs to be hidden.
Terry is able to find out for herself just what it feels like to be behind the veil.
إذا ممكن تتكلم شوية كيف تفكري من شأن.
The first layer of veiling will be worn inside the home so that at least the eyes will be seen by friends of the family.
كيف تفكري؟
Eyes can sometimes be revealing, perhaps too revealing. So whenever outside the house, a second veil is drawn to obscure the entire face. In common with women the world over, the art of makeup is an essential part of their toilet. As might be expected in such circumstances, there is an air of mystery, and the elaboration of this art includes both the hands and the feet. These are decorated in a highly ornate fashion, using henna. Traditionally, makeup is only worn by married women, who are, after all, the only women likely to be seen by a man, their husband. Facial makeup is also elaborate, and they use a great deal of perfume. The full treatment we see here is most likely to be applied on those special occasions, such as weddings. Most crafts practiced in the Yemen are very basic, and machine manufacture does not exist. It is possible to see craftsmen working with their hands in 1,000 different ways. Workers in the building trade, like masons and these window makers, are higher in the social scale of craft practices. All houses feature ornate windows made of coloured glass set in gypsum plaster. These windows are characteristic of those to be seen in the houses of Sana'a. Several times each day, the call to prayer echoes from every minaret throughout towns and cities. The first call in the darkness is at 4 a.m. The call is taken up from mosque to mosque, and the sound is amplified by loudspeakers within each minaret. On Friday, which is the Sabbath, every Muslim answers. Here in the great mosque of Bab al-Yemen, founded by command of the Prophet Muhammad himself, the centuries roll away. This most ancient monument to Islam was enlarged even in the earlier centuries by order of the Caliph. The Quran, being the word of God, is recited with great reverence. From more than 1,000 mosques in Sana'a, the people spill over into the streets as though acting out some Bible epic under the direction of Cecil B. DeMille. Today, Friday, the clamour will reach a crescendo to which all will feel obliged to contribute. Soon, each group of friends makes to join others in the security of their homes. Now is the time that the most important purchase of the week will be made. Cut. Cut chewing is the only widespread social vice. It is almost a preoccupation, and most people chew cat at least once every week, others every afternoon. Not long after leaving the mosque on a Friday, the streets will have become quiet. Every Yemeni man and many of the women indulge in the strange leisure pursuit of chewing the cat. In the upper room, known as the mufraj, a man and his friends gather to chew the hours away. The women, of course, are with their friends in their own quarters. The cat leaf is chewed, not swallowed, and it is only the small inner leaves of the plant which are selected. The drug is believed to have its effect through the optic nerve, which is readily stimulated at regular chewing sessions. Men cram their mouths with the leaf to form a large ball until their cheeks become distended. They drink water to increase the flow of juice. The paraphernalia at all cut sessions includes the madar pipe, which has become part of the tradition. The rough leaf of tobacco is fired by small pieces of charcoal, and the smoke is drawn to the mouthpiece through water in the base of the pipe. This gives a distinct bubbling sound as each smoker inhales. Small receptacles or spittoons are placed conveniently around the moufrage, which is furnished in a standard arrangement for sitting. They recline at floor level on pallets or mattresses with backrests of stuffed cushions against the wall. The development of roads and communications in such terrain is a formidable task. The Chinese, the Russians and the Germans have each contributed to the engineering of roads connecting the capital city of Sana'a with the other main cities of Taiz and Al-Hodeidah. In most areas, rocky tracks are the only means of access. The planning and building of such roads involves a great deal of time and not a little patience. Bob Burke is a planner. Column Ryder is a road engineer. Working with the concerned development team, they have been responsible for several engineering projects of this kind, not only coordinating all the different resources, including finance, but also making the first ever maps of these areas.
Did you have to do any blasting here?
Oh yes, that's quite
a lot.
Just right here, this place. You have to.
Yeah, it has to.
It's worked out quite well.
None of the bits are too.
Column here worked with the cooperation of local tribesmen who came to know him and respect him. Fortunately for him and our camera team, the heavily armed sheikh with some of his men who arrived unexpectedly on the scene knew Column and extended a warm welcome. His invitation to chew cut the following day was accepted by Column, who has come to recognize that such a relationship develops a warmth and understanding between peoples. Many kilometers from the city of Sana'a, the mountains rise to more than 10,000 feet above sea level. The Yemenis build their houses high, and they build them well. The altitude appears to have little effect upon the building workers, who toil through most of the day, breaking only during the great heat of noon. Building technique has remained unchanged for centuries, because the pattern of life of the people has itself remained much the same as it always was. Here, the nights can turn cold, but in such houses within these thick walls, the temperature remains fairly constant. Tula is the hometown of the President of the Yemen Arab Republic, General Al-Hamdi. As morning light breaks, the rocks in the buildings turn to gold. Formerly a palace, this building is now the army headquarters, and one wonders if they still chew cat in the luxurious moufrage on the upper floor. At Tula, two of the concerned nurses have set up a clinic. Like novices for some religious order, their young assistants wear traditional dresses of black. Francis O'Connell and Elizabeth Lane are many kilometers rough journey from the team in Sana'a, and seemingly the other side of the world from their fellow countrymen back in Ireland. Each day, children and others arrive at their clinic. Children may be malnourished without necessarily being hungry. Their parents have come to expect diseases as a way of life. And whilst they gratefully accept the cures of modern science, they have little understanding of the precepts on which such remedies are based. Francis and Beth try to help them to understand and to learn. Their work is shared by a Yemeni doctor who visits the clinic regularly. The two girls live together on the same premises as their clinic, sharing the tough realities of everyday life. – 50% of all children born in the Yemen will die before they reach the age of 12. Here, as nowhere else, nature keeps a delicate balance. This high mortality rate amongst children is never called into question. It is simply accepted as the will of Allah. In life there are no such things as birth certificates, and in death there are no such things as death certificates. There will be no coffin. The body will be simply wrapped in a shroud and laid in the earth. If oil or minerals lie beneath the ground of this land, they lie dormant. There is no easy path to riches for those in the Yemen, as with other Arab countries. But the earth that swallows up life also gives it back in another form. The method by which water is drawn from the ground for irrigation has been operating for centuries, much as it is now. The woman prepares the camel's meal as carefully as though it were that of her husband. And as the camel is ready for his next descent, so he is encouraged. Traveling westwards towards the Tahama desert, great mountains and fertile valleys unfold themselves. In places, the scenery is breathtaking. Small agricultural communities nurture the soil wherever it reveals itself from beneath the rock. Most who live in these areas will have seen no other parts of the world. They live, toil, and die within these valleys. Frequently, they will have to carry their burdens for many miles. Fuel and food is valuable. Life is expendable. Here, man finds his true perspective, and it is no coincidence that from such a landscape sprang the inspiration and conception of the world's great religions. As at the time of Christ, shepherds live in the mountains with their flocks. But as evening comes, those forming part of the agricultural communities will find their way home to the shelter of the valleys. The mountains reach out to the desert, and the desert sweeps on to the sea. The Red Sea. As the fishermen of El Hodeidah circle their boats close to the shore, they throw the catch overboard. Some of those on board dive in to retrieve it. The range of fish gleaned from the Red Sea is as varied and colorful as the people themselves. The fish market is situated only a few yards from the beach, and as each catch arrives, it is auctioned or otherwise sold without delay. The heat is intense, and without refrigeration in such a climate, it will not remain for long, if indeed it remains at all. It is difficult to relate the throb of the surf with the parched desert that encircles the town. Here the sea is rich in protein, and yet a few miles inland, many will suffer from malnutrition due to lack of protein. Who is there to teach the lesson? This is the Tahama, the desert stretching from the Red Sea to the mountains. At certain times of the year, high winds sweep the sands of this desolate region. It is intensely hot, with midday temperatures invariably above 100 degrees Fahrenheit. The tribes that populate this part of the country are very different from those who live in the mountains. Like the men of the mountains, the men of the desert fashion their lives from the raw material provided by nature. The ancient and historic town of Beit el-Faqih stands like a backcloth to the camel trains as they pass on their way to and from the desert. Once a week, people travel from far and wide to buy or sell at the souk. They bring with them their livestock or their goods, and each small town in its turn becomes a temporary hive of activity. Today, it is the turn for the souk to be held at Barjil. The people arrive by camel, by mule, on foot, or by any transport that presents itself. Here, the women of the plains no longer hide behind the veil of Shirshaf, and their mode of dress with their tall hats reflects a confidence not found in the mountains. Nomads from the desert and those from the small isolated villages all come together for a few hours in a colorful pageant. There is much to talk about and much to learn. The itinerant musician also has a story to tell in his song about love. Shopping for the essentials is the first priority. Thereafter, if there is money to spare, there is tobacco for your bubble pipe and fresh cut for chewing on the long journey home. All that remains is to carry home your purchases, and home may be a long, long trek. On the southern border of the Yemen Arab Republic, not far from South Yemen, is the city of Taiz. Taiz is more cosmopolitan than Sennar or any of the other towns, and the people are of a more extrovert character. Taiz even sports one set of traffic lights. Whilst their traffic problems have not yet reached the same dimensions as Times Square or Hyde Park Corner, they are nonetheless getting in some practice. The cattle and sheep market is similar to those to be found in other parts of the country, and is likewise not the best advertisement for the sanitary department. Raisins, pulses, spices and fruits, all these are cropped near Taiz and in the lusher valleys of the Yemen. In the valleys at the feet of the highest mountains, it is possible to see the great potential. Here, in the intense heat, moisture seeps from the rock face sufficient to support more ambitious crops. In truth, the people of the Yemen have always recognized that their future lies within the earth. Grain foods, like wheat and sorghum, come from the more sparse areas. There is no lack of effort, only of expertise. The methods of threshing sorghum have not changed for hundreds of years. Tony Blackmore is an agriculturalist. Here at Sanhan, 30 kilometers from Sana'a, the villagers work their land and manage to produce some worthwhile crops. They know that with Tony's guidance they can improve the odds in their struggle with nature. More than anything, they must regulate their scant resources of water. The women of the village appreciate as much as their menfolk the daily labor of drawing sufficient for their needs. Tony's discussions with the elders of the village have reached a point where they plan to purchase a simple irrigation system, another example of the benefits that wise development can bring. No matter in what circumstances they live, in the meanest or in the grandest, they have a pride of spirit which sets them as a people apart. They guard their traditions as they guard the cat, with a watchful eye, and if necessary, with firearms. The present economy of the Yemen depends overmuch on the employment of its men in the oil-rich lands of their neighbors. They wish to depend more on their own resources. At present, 30% of the male population are obliged to earn their living elsewhere and send their wages to those at home. In wishing to learn more of the benefits that civilization can bring, they do not wish to spoil their culture or their values which have been maintained for so long. They are not the kind of people to sell their heritage for the dubious pleasures of mass production and the permissive society. The key to their future lies not only in their own hands, but in the hands of people like Helen and Margaret, like Colum and Bob, like Francis and Beth, like Tony Blackmore and others. In the Yemen, perhaps more than anywhere else in the world, there is great hope for the future.